The diner ended where the light ran out. Elizabeth stopped at the rusted freezer and watched paint peel like old skin. Nora stood beside her. Jaw locked, the jukebox's wrong song still a notch behind her teeth. Behind the freezer, a hatch waited. Nails hammered hard, ritual ink crazed into the wood, a pattern that read accusation and invitation at once. Elizabeth pressed her palm. The hatch answered with a long, empty breath and surrendered. It gave not to force, but to recognition. The steps were a cadence of falling, one measured loss after another, light thinned with each footfall. The air changed from background to attention, as if daylight above had trained a different room to listen, and the room would not unlearn. Nora's fingers traced soot-cut symbols along the plaster, names scratched out, dates overwritten, tallies of small betrayals pressed into the grain. The marks obeyed only if the mind slowed. They rearranged at the edge of vision until the meaning bled through. They did not walk side by side. The mind refused easy alignment. Space narrowed, time folded. Their boots multiplied into replies that suggested other feet, answering where there were none. Above them, the diner condensed into memory. Neon, a chip of coffee-stained porcelain. The jukebox's wrong melody, things that belonged to grief more than to the present. At the tunnel's end, the hollow opened like a throat. The floor took their weight with the patience of old things. The air tasted of static and stale smoke. Silence here had density, it bruised. In the center lay a circle of pages, curled like shed skin. Ink had bled into the fiber until confessions read as geography, promises canceled, petty cruelties hoarded, names filed as evidence. Elizabeth knelt and let the center page accept her hand. The paper pulsed slow in answering to the hollow she carried. Nora stood at the rim. Her palm found a cold stone and learned names beneath the grain. Names not hers, not Elizabeth's. Names the mine had swallowed whole and kept in ledgered quiet. She did not kneel. She held the silence as one holds a weapon. The mine listened the way a judge listens, without pity, with absolute memory. It did not echo questions, it answered by rearranging what had been left unsaid. Portraits along the corridor blurred, and then sharpened into accusation. Voices braided into choruses of things never spoken and impossible to unhear. They were not explorers. They were entries Elizabeth deposited grief into ink. Nora furnished the quiet that sealed it. The mind translated absence into record, and the record did not forgive. Something shifted, not a sound, but a mutual registry. The room tightened like a throat preparing to speak. Elizabeth's hand on the page translated into a shudder of images. An overhead kitchen bulb, a laugh cut mid-breath, a coffee left to cool Nora's palm, learned a different catalog, an absence cross-reference until it became a map. There was nowhere to withdraw. The mind's answers were not explanations. They were revealings. It stripped away soft misrememberings and left the raw knot. That knot demanded naming. Elizabeth whispered a name, ordinary, small, and the mind received it as if it had been waiting. Nora opened her mouth and let no sound come. The mind read silence as a scent binding required, no volume. When they rose, the pages had altered, new ink threaded margins in tidy strokes. The mind's ledger now, including their arrival. The corridor that had been echo became archive. The echoes had become entries. They climbed, and the neon bled faint through the hatch. The diner above pretend otherwise. The booth remained stained and imprinted. The jukebox spun its wrong song and stopped. A coffee cup waited with a ring of remembered heat. The descent had not unknotted anything. It had translated grief into accountability. Elizabeth left with ink in her hands. Nora left with silence tightened like wire. Both carried new marks. Beneath Hollow Creek, the mind settled its books. It would remember their names and call them when the ledger demanded more.